Welcome to the new episode of Dakota Boys Talk Movies. I am Steven.
And I am Dakota.
And tonight, we're going to do kind of a, more or less a double review. We're going to talk about the new Terminator movie, Terminator Genisys. Apparently it's called Genisys, although it doesn't really look like that. Anyway, and then we're also going to reminisce on the original Terminator movie from 1984. And so we'll be talking about that. But first, we thought it'd be fun where Dakota and I are going to ask each other some movie trivia questions from the game Seen It. And so we each picked 5. And so we're going to have Dakota go first, ask me a question first, and then we'll just kind of go back and forth here. So, all right, Dakota, go ahead and ask me the first question.
I am ironically asking this question because I actually hate this movie. I feel it's one of the most overhyped ever made, and you will most likely get it. Name the 1999 movie that cost just $35,000 to make and grossed over $140 million in the U.S. Well, its 2000 sequel just cost $15 million to make and grossed just $26 million.
Oh, man. So it's 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a cheapie with a follow-up that was made for a little bit more.
I will give you a hint. The sequel is considered one of the worst sequels ever made.
Oh, man.
And is nothing like the content is completely different than the first one.
Man, you picked it. This is a tough one. It's hard to... I don't know. Man, I feel dumb. Did you already stump me?
Would you like me to tell you?
I can't even think of a good guess.
It's the movie that kicked off all the stupid found footage
Oh,
movies.
God, Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. I actually forgot. I always make Blair Witch like 1995. I always make it older than it is.
Wow. Yeah, that's...
I
remember I was just a wee teenage... No, I was 13.
You were pubescent.
Yeah, I think I was 13.
All right, well, we'll just say I didn't get that one. So, all right, I'm 0 for 1. All right, here's your first question.
Okay.
Let me see what I got here. What 1988 movie has a character nicknamed Nuke lamenting, "Why is he calling me meat? I'm the one driving a Porsche." 1988 movie.
Oh, man.
We're terrible at this. We just picked like the hardest ones we could find is our problem.
Oh, man. Wall Street? I don't know.
No, not Wall Street.
If it's Ghost, I'm going to kill you.
It's not Ghost.
Okay.
It is Bull Durham.
Oh, I hate that movie so much.
Yeah. See, I thought so. That's why I picked it. All right. Give me my second one here. Let's see if I can get 1 for 2 here.
All right. No, that one's too easy. Okay, this one you should get. In what banner year were the fan favorites Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, and The Shawshank Redemption released?
1994.
Yes.
Boom, got that one. I know my dates, or years anyway.
Apparently not, because you're the last question.
Okay, well, yeah, but, yeah, never mind. I take it back. All right, let's see here. What 1999 supernatural thriller features a boy who sees dead people, hypnosis, and the cryptic word dig?
The Sixth Sense?
No, it is not Sixth Sense.
What?
See, I knew you were going to guess that. There is a boy who sees dead people, but the key here was hypnosis and the cryptic word dig.
Oh, the Kevin Bacon movie?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, what is it called? I can't remember.
It's called Stir of Echoes.
Oh, I was going to say Painted Black, but that's because of the song.
Yeah, they used Painted Black in that movie. Yeah, didn't David Koepp direct that?
Yeah.
That was one of his early...
I think those... Was that the same year The Sixth Sense came out?
Yeah, that's why it's kind of a trick question there.
Well, no, it's just... I remember it was a good movie. It's just it got overshadowed by Sixth Sense. And
yeah. All right, well, I got 1. You're still zip. We're doing really good. All right, so let's go to the next one here.
Okay. This one is actually one of my favorites. Let's see if you get it. Name the 1983 movie whose crime lord protagonist was described with the tagline, "He loved the American dream with a vengeance."
1983?
Yeah.
Scarface?
Yeah.
Oh, nailed it.
Apparently I can't be asking you questions that involve dates.
Okay, let's see. I'm 2 for 3. All right, here we go. Which one did I? Oh, no. Yes. All right, here we are. What 2005 horror film is based on the true story of a priest who is charged with negligent homicide after performing a failed exorcism?
The Exorcism of Emily Rose?
Yeah, that's kind of an easy one.
Wow, that's actually a really recent movie, it seems like.
2005. So you're 1 for 3, and I'm 2 for 3.
All right.
What do you got for me?
Okay, this one, okay. Helen Fielding wrote the novel and co-wrote the screenplay on which what 2001 comedy was based? Helen Fielding.
Wow. Helen Fielding. That does not ring a bell.
Oh, I thought you would get this one just because how much you dislike the romantic comedy movies.
Yeah, I'm trying to... Okay, 2001?
Yeah.
Oh, that's more based on... Because I want to say... I have one I want to say, but that's based on a William Shakespeare, unless she wrote the modern take on it. Is it 10 Things I Hate About You?
No.
What is it?
It's Bridget Jones'
Bridget
Diary.
Jones. See, because all I could think of was 10 Things I Hate About You, but that's based on Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, oh, gal, I forgot about those novel movies.
That movie's actually a lot older than I thought it was. 2000.
Yeah, 2001, huh? Well, yeah, because it was back when Renee Zellweger was actually relevant. Because a couple years later, she won her Academy Award for Cold Mountain, and then kind of went downhill from there. Okay, so let's see. I'm 3 for 4, and you are 1 for 3 right now. So here we go. See if we can get 2 for 4. Oh, here we go. Name the 1985 comedy that was tagged "The Story of a Rebel and His Bike."
Is it Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yes!
Is that really what it was?
Yeah, because remember in the movie he does that, like, you don't understand. Like, he says that thing to the girl, what does he say? He's trying to act like he's all like this big lone warrior. He just says all ridiculous. Alright, well, you're 2 for 4.
Oh, man.
And I'm what?
3 for 4?
Yeah, I'm 3 for 4. I'm 1 ahead. So, with 1 question left. So we could tie. Alright, so go ahead and...
Let's see here. Deborah Foreman totally played the title character in 1983's Valley Girl, but, like, who played her punk rocker love interest?
Wait, do the first part of that again?
Okay, Deborah Foreman totally played the title character in 1983's Valley Girl, but, like, who played her punk rocker love interest? I think this was one of his first... It had to be one of his first movies.
Oh, man. Punk rock love interest in 1983. Jeez.
He is, unfortunately, still making movies today. I'll give you that.
What?
That's why I picked it.
Yeah, it's gotta be... That seems like a long time ago to be him. I hate to say this because it seems like it's gonna be wrong. Johnny Depp.
No. Close.
Man. Close?
Yeah.
Who is it?
He's made some pretty horrible movies recently. Nicolas Cage.
Oh man, that was my gut, And then I switched away quick going, oh no, there's no way he played a punk rocker. Forgot it was the 80s. Okay, well that ends me with a 3 for 5, I think. And you're 2 for... Okay, so it could tie right here.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm going to test you on your classics here.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Private Eye Sam Spade hunts for the stuff that dreams are made of in what noir mystery movie?
Casablanca?
Oh, nope. Not Casablanca.
What?
Plays Private Eye Sam Spade in the movie The Maltese Falcon.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I am always... Oh, man.
I think his name is like Rick in Casablanca.
No, I'm always thinking of every time... There is the Sam in Casablanca, and every time I think of that movie, I think,
the piano
play it
player.
again, Sam.
Yeah, the piano player Sam.
Oh, man. Actually,
yeah,
I like that book, too. I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah. We gotta find some... We'll have to find some different trivia things. Those were okay. It's just that the ones in this game was second edition, so it was a little hard to find good ones in there, because a lot of them end up being a little more recent and things like that, but... We still stumped each other a little bit, just because it's hard to pull those dates out sometimes, or like what random movie. It's funny, how many questions did we do that involved 1999 and
94 to 99.
All right, well, on to
Terminator Genisys.
Terminator kind of double review.
Did you want to talk about the first Terminator or Genisys first?
I think what we'll do here is let's talk about Terminator. So, because that's the one that started it all. Let's talk about the Terminator. So, the Terminator came out in 1984, and it was, pretty early in James Cameron's career that he kind of developed this story. In fact, you were telling me, what's the background of where this story kind of came to starting to get the idea in his head, in James Cameron's head for it?
Well, he was actually shooting a movie. I'm trying to think. What was the actual title of it? Was it just
the Piranha sequel?
Yeah.
It was called like Piranha the Spawning or something like ridiculous.
Yeah. James Cameron was actually filming the movie Piranha 2. Let's just call it that. And
yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah. And he got sick while he was doing this, and apparently was in bed having this. Just had to have been just one horrible nightmare about machines, metal machines walking around with glowing red eyes, just mowing people down with guns. And that's pretty much where the base of the story comes from.
Yeah, it's just kind of an interesting way to get a story idea. I guess I've heard that Stephen King gets a lot of his ideas from dreams, and it kind of like makes me glad I'm not him. I don't know if I want to have the dreams he's having. And so what's interesting too is that at the end credits he ends up giving credit to a guy who wrote an Outer Limits episode called Soldier, just because the idea is very similar to that Outer Limits also, where there's a futuristic soldier coming after someone. So, yeah, it's just kind of, I guess it's kind of one of those things where a little bit of there's nothing new under the sun, and in terms of James Cameron, he's the king of ripping off, in my opinion, where...
Actually, I think that title belongs to Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that's true. That he's the king, I guess, and James Cameron could be like the Duke. But it's just kind of interesting how when you look back, I mean, it's like, even his movie that broke all the box office records is basically Dances with Wolves / Pocahontas, Avatar.
Oh, I was like, you're not talking about Titanic.
No, his newest one that broke all the records.
Yeah.
Well, Titanic, that's history. He just had it in a crappy love story, kind of star-crossed lover type thing. So, yeah, Terminator, I guess, in a way, it isn't. Well, it wasn't Arnold's first movie, but it seems to be the movie that really put him on the map in terms of just like pop culture, where more people started taking notice of him. Before that, he was just kind of like a Mr. Universe. He had Conan, but that was more of like a limited group of people, just because Conan was so violent and so adult.
Yeah.
And even though Terminator's rated R too, it kind of had more of a appeal to the larger audience, so to speak. I guess what I find interesting about Terminator is it is a cool idea, and what do you think about like we're kind of when you watch it again, what do you think of like the special effects in that movie? I mean, it was 1984. You got to take that a little bit into consideration.
Well, I'm not gonna say
Because Stan Winston, I guess we should clarify. Stan Winston did work on this movie. He was considered like a pioneer and king of special, and he did Alien before this movie, which was considered like a milestone. And of course, Star Wars would have been before this movie, which is considered a milestone in special effects. Where do you think this movie sits in that timeline of things?
That's a really tough question. It's probably somewhere in the top 10, but definitely
For that time period?
Yeah, definitely. Probably more like somewhere in the middle. It's kind of hard because, I mean, you look at the film right now and it just doesn't. The effects didn't really hold up over time.
Yeah, but I know what you mean because you watch some '80s movies and they're just garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world? It's like paper mache or something. Just like kind of thrown together special effects are really what I really noticed. I guess this go around of thinking about the Terminator was there's such a mixture of visual effects in it. There's stop motion. There's matte painting backgrounds. There's shots of them in the war where they're in the war front, but you can tell the background is kind of like movie screen of another shot, and it's just such a mixture of special effects. It kind of makes you like, you can see like in that aspect the movie was really trying to push some of those boundaries and see like what can they get to work. It was like we were talking about that one shot where the Terminator is injured and he's looking in the mirror and fixing stuff, and it just looks terrible. Like you can tell he's like this terrible animatronic. But then all of a sudden at the end, when his face is half shredded and you can start seeing, it looks a lot better. And it's like they were just kind of messing with all these different types of special effects, see what worked for different shots. And I suppose in the end, when he was in the truck, and they're like, well, we have to have it be better because it has to be Arnold for this to work.
Yeah.
But I know at the time, I mean, it was lauded pretty highly for how innovative it was in terms of not just story and stuff, but special effects.
Well, when you do consider the fact that when the Terminator is pretty much lost its human shell, if you will, and it's chasing down the two main characters in the movie, it even though it looks cheesy, it actually is like really, really far above what Ray Harryhausen did, and what he did was actually, it was pretty cool at the time. But
yeah, well, especially if you just watch the scene in Jason and the Argonauts with the skeleton fight.
Oh yeah,
just cool as heck. I mean, that still is cool to look at. And Pirates tried to do that, Pirates of the Caribbean, but those are fun or whatever. But it just looks cooler in Jason and the Argonauts for some reason, just because they seem more tangible. I think But the Terminator. The other thing that's interesting about this is what it's talking about in the movie. I think why it kind of hangs in people's memories too is that it just seems as time goes on, the ideas of the Terminator, this artificial intelligence becoming self-aware, enslaving people, it stays relevant because of the way technology is slowly becoming more and more of a, obviously people are still in charge, right now. But we have so many things run and stored and kept through electronics, that an idea like Terminator, the premise of Terminator, just seems even more, something seems more of a reality today, just because so many things are in that realm. And there's things like, well, we're not quite to like total AI yet, but giving things certain thinking, we can give robotics certain amounts of thinking patterns, but it's not true AI. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, Age of Ultron, that was one of the main themes in that movie.
Yeah. That is really where the comics were going with Ultron too. Is just the idea of a robot just seeing humanity as the problem. And is that really what it is with the artificial intelligence in Terminator series 2? They just see humanity as, like, we're past you, we don't need you anymore? Is it kind of that idea? Is that why they take over in the Terminator?
Well, it was explained as the movies went along, but that's pretty much what it was. The AI felt that as people were continuing to live on the planet, it would be threatened because people just make war and kind of destroy things. So figured, I'll just wipe them all out. That way it'll be just me here, and I can do whatever I want. And it didn't really work out like that.
What's the other thing that's kind of tricky with Terminator too is how, because it does involve time travel movies are always problematic in making sense. It's just hard for it all to kind of, especially when you're having this idea of, this isn't really a spoiler because everybody knows this by this point, is how the guy who comes back in time to save Sarah is also the father of his general in the future. And those kind of things where, well, you can kind of make sense of that, but some of that other time travel stuff gets kind of weird, so to speak. But what would you, like the Terminator, the first one, would you put it more in category of sci-fi or horror?
Oh man,
or do you just think it kind of balances?
Well, I think you'd have to always kind of just put it in sci-fi, but it's definitely probably the most intense one.
Because really, there's a way where if you just watch it, it's like a slasher film.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this guy who shows up, and he's just murdering people, and the police are like trying to figure it out, and there's these group that are going, well, he's probably going to come after us. I mean, this is what happens every slasher movie. And he does, and then they even get so much as to getting to the end of Terminator where you think he's dead, but he isn't, and keeps coming after the girl.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like slasher film. And it's just kind of interesting how it follows those kind of progression, that progression of what a slasher movie kind of is too, which is why it's kind of funny how it is a sci-fi movie, but it also has all of the checklist elements of a slasher movie.
Yeah, it's interesting how some of these movies you could kind of put them in two different categories sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes it's nice when a movie is a mixture of those things. But yeah, I mean, Terminator, it's one of those movies where the special effects don't hold up. When you go back and watch it, it is an interesting movie of its time, and you can see why it got people excited about. Why people got excited about it and stuff. And what's interesting is that Arnold has 12 lines in the movie, something like that. He's pretty quiet, yeah. Especially compared to some movies. There's some movies where he talks a lot.
Perhaps a little too much.
A little too much, especially with that. That's the other thing I find funny, is why they developed these amazing cyborgs that had Austrian accents. It's like, was the accent is it based off someone, or?
They actually explain that in Terminator 3.
Do they in Rise of the Machines?
Yeah, there's a deleted scene where
deleted scene. Okay.
Yeah, they are reviewing they picked a candidate to model they were apparently trying to build these, the Terminator, the ones that we saw in the first movie, way before Judgment Day actually happened. And they actually picked a candidate, and he was in the Marines, I believe. He had a very, very kind of high-pitched Southern voice. It was just a tad distracting. And it was commented on that they didn't really care for it. And one of the guys in the room, who had a very, very deep Austrian accent, says, "Don't worry, I'm sure we'll find some way to fix this."
Nice.
And that was it.
Oh my goodness.
They modeled the Terminators after a guy in the army, and then just redid his voice.
It seems like, when you look at Terminator 3 and then Terminator Salvation, those two movies just seem to try to be like answer movies. Like, they tried to fill in some of the blanks and give you answers, and some of that stuff, like I say this now, kind of more jokingly than saying, "Movie, tell me the answer to this question," And, because the problem with Terminator Salvation was it was so convoluted in, like, where it was going and things like that, where that's probably what made Christian Bale get angry and then start freaking out at McGee, was that it was probably a frustrating movie to work on. Just because it seemed like it was kind of a mixed bag of what it was going to do, and then it had a little bit of everything,
I think that we could all just blame that on the director, though, because he doesn't seem to have much direction.
Yeah, something like that. But I think from there, Terminator is kind of one of those movies. It's a pretty straightforward movie. You kind of go through. Sarah Connor is trying to get away. But if you are, obviously, if you like 80s sci-fi, you've probably already seen it. Most people who want to see it have already seen it. But it's an interesting movie. It's definitely a product of its time a little bit. But it's still an entertaining watch if it's something you're interested in. But I think what we're going to do now is we're going to transition to the new one, Terminator Genisys, that is kind of attempting to be a sequel / soft reboot / fix errors of the past / whatever.
So in other words, this is this year's version of X-Men Days of Future Past.
It's basically Terminator Days of Future Past. There you go, Honest Trailers. Just gave you your fake title for it.
John, you can do this. You just go and you don't look back. My whole life I prepared my son to lead humanity in the fight against the machines.
This night, we take back our world!
But there was one thing I could never prepare him for.
The machines tried to rig the game, send a Terminator back to the time before the war to kill my mother.
I'll go back. Let me save her.
Come with me if you want to live. Kyle Reese,
You know who I am?
we've been prepping for you to arrive for over a decade.
We. The Terminator.
It is nice to meet you.
I've been trying to teach him to blend in. I know it needs work.
But here's the deal with this. I have decided I have refused to see Terminator Genisys in theaters just because for principle. I just don't want to do it. I just can't do it. And what I did here is Dakota did. And so Dakota's going to give us his thoughts on it. I'll ask him and he'll tell us. He'll kind of give us a rundown here. He doesn't really have to worry about spoilers, so I think the trailer took care of that. But anyway, I'm going to give you my 7 reasons of why I didn't go see Terminator Genisys. Number 1. It looks like a cheap rehash that they are calling a reboot, but many of the scenes look the same, but said by someone different. They're just having the same things, but different people saying them type stuff. Number 2, Arnold is past his prime on action movies and should just stop. He needs to just stop. Just do something that fits your age or something. I don't know. He's been trying these, and people, they try to go, well, what about Sabotage, and what about, what's that other
Maggie?
one? Well, there was Maggie, but there was another recent action one he did. And,
The one where he was the sheriff in the town?
Yeah, thank you. Last Stand and the Expendables. I'm sorry, but no. Those just aren't, no. Number 3, Alan Taylor has directed nothing good and is only getting these past couple gigs of, he did Thor the Dark World and this because of the overhype of Game of Thrones, which he directed. And really, when I started thinking about it, the only after T2 movie that had a good director was T3, but that movie was not good. That movie was like kind of anti-Terminator in a way, where they were just trying to be all over the place. Jonathan Mostow directed that, which he did U571, which you should watch if you haven't seen that. Number 4, this is a pretty simple one, 2 words, Jai Courtney. That's all I need to say for that one. He's been given how many chances now, and he's terrible. They need to quit giving him these movies. Number 5. This is the 3rd attempt after the initial 2 that had a certain amount of cohesion between them and really weren't meant to have any more. They just need to let it go. But they can't because they got to do the franchise thing. Number 6. Spelling things funny is dumb. Why did they have to spell Genesis weird? I don't get it. It's just dumb. Number 7, it just seems convoluted as all get out. When you watch the trailer, it just is like they got everything going all over the place. The giveaway, it seems like a lot of big plot points. And based on a lot of people's comments, it's really like checklist. I mean, you can't always base everything on everybody's comments, but there was nothing appealing showing me in this movie, and the only actor in it that I give like 2 cents about would be Jason Clarke, but they're just ruining John Connor in this movie. So there you go. Those are my 7 reasons. Now, we're going to give it over to Dakota's going to give the actual review of Terminator Genisys since he saw it. So Dakota, overall thoughts on Terminator Genisys?
Oh, good lord. I'm sorry, I'm just taking in your examples for why you didn't see this movie again. I mean, I don't know. I'll explain. I suppose after I'm done what this Genesis means. But
of course, it's gonna have a meeting.
Yeah. Okay, here's my review. I feel awkward flying solo here on this review.
We're flying solo. Just pretend that I actually want to see this. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No, I'm listening.
All right, here we go. Yes, the movie starts off pretty much right before the beginning of the original Terminator, where you see John Connor. He's leading his forces against this Terminator base. Of course, they think it's just an air pad or hangar that they have planes stored at, but John actually knows what it is. It's where they keep their fancy time machine to send Terminators back in time, and that's why he's leading out an all-out assault on this base. So cut to really intense action scene where lots of humans die. And there's kind of a Deus Ex Machina scene where, it turns out the humans won, so all the Terminators are shutting down. I feel like I'm not really spoiling this, because this is all in the first 10 minutes. Like, no joke. And they eventually, as this is happening, Skynet goes into the freezer, pulls out this android.
Like a literal freezer?
It looks like a freezer where they have these bodies hanging.
Oh, okay.
And this hook grabs one of the Terminators, pulls him out. You don't see his face at this point. You do see his physique, and you're just supposed to, it's Arnold, even though you can't see his face. And sends him back in time. John Connor and his crew come in, find the place. They eventually get it up and running. And naturally somebody has to be sent back, but who? who should they send back? Out of all the volunteers, they decide to send Kyle Reese back. Why? Because plot. No, just kidding.
because reasons.
For those of you who don't know, or skip the first part of this interview, Kyle Reese is actually John Connor's dad. And if he doesn't get sent back, he cannot mate/sire himself. Upon Sarah Connor, there will be no savior for mankind. Yeah,
of course he doesn't quite know that, does he? What's kind of weird is you learn in the first Terminator. I'm guessing it's the same thing in this. Is that he's in love with Sarah because of a picture he has of her before he goes. As they kind of follow that same kind of plot point in this one.
Yeah, and then you kind of realize they don't bring this up in the original Terminator, but in this one they imply that they're pretty much best friends. Like, everywhere John goes, Reese is right behind him, and they even tried to open a still together, but it exploded.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because in the first movie, you just know that he reveres John Connor as the leader and would do anything for him, including die. But that's interesting. They kind of went the totally best friend route. Huh.
So, they have Reese stripped down. No, ladies, you don't get to see much.
It is PG-13.
And they send him back in time, and right as he's getting shipped behind, something goes down. You don't really get to see it, but let's just say John Connor gets attacked by one of his men. And cue the first Terminator. Well, for like 5 minutes of the first Terminator.
Oh, you were saying they recreate kind of the scenes where Arnold goes back through time and Kyle Reese, they kind of recreate that from the original one.
Yeah, that's honestly the only thing they really recreate here, because the story just diverges very far and very descends very quickly away from the original story.
Why couldn't they have CGI younged up Bill Paxton to play the spiky blue-haired guy?
He was too skinny and had horrible teeth, that's why.
It would have taken too much visual effects work.
They would have had to use like an extra 100,000 just to ugly his teeth up.
just to have Bill Paxton in it. If Cameron were directing, that would happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cameron's like, I'll flip the bill. All right. Okay. So we have the kind of recreation of the first one where they come back, and then where does it go from there? I know in the preview they show Sarah Connor come in, something you totally not expect, where she already is basically the warrior that she isn't in the original first Terminator.
Yeah, she pretty much saves Kyle's butt from a T-1000. Yeah, there's a T-1000 in this movie.
Everything's in it!
Yeah. I was expecting the Terminatrix from the third Terminator to show up in this. Unfortunately, no.
And then Sarah Connor from the Sarah Connor Chronicles just walks through for some reason like, hey, what about me?
Yeah, there you go. But, yeah, things kind of, without giving too much away, our two main characters kind of get a bond for a little moment before they are whisked away to the far-off land of 2017. And
how did they get to 2017?
Try not to spoil the story.
Oh, gotcha. I see. That was the part you're not trying to spoil.
Yeah. They have another time machine there in 1984. I just gave away the whole movie. But yeah, they get shot to 2017, and here's where the name Genisys comes from. Kyle had a dream, which he quite can't place, but claims as a memory, where he was told by himself, him as a child told himself as a child, that if they ever wanted to stop Skynet from becoming self-aware, that they needed to destroy Genisys, which is this fancy app that apparently, once you download it onto your phone, tablet, whatever, you are instantly connected with all your devices. One thing you do on one device pretty much lets you do on the other. And apparently this thing is Skynet, which is kind of an interesting take on it. So to stop Skynet from taking over and killing everybody...
So Skynet's the internet?
Yeah. Skynet is this Genisys... They call it an app, but really it's...
There's an app for that. Taking over the world? There's an app for that.
Want to see what nuclear war feels like? Yeah. There's an app for that. So they shoot there, and yeah. The I don't know if I should give this away. The Terminator that pretty much is Sarah Connor's guardian, which is normal-looking Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Normal, as in now Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Except in the trailer, it looks like they must have grayed up his hair a little bit more.
No.
Or maybe he just quit dyeing his hair.
He actually can't go with him. He has to stay behind. So, as they say, he's taking the long way to 2017. So, 23 years.
Oh, gotcha.
And something they bring up in the movie is, whereas the Terminator's physical body is still operating it the way it should, the outer side of his body is aging, just like it would for a human. That's why he looks old.
There you go. Explained away.
And then they get to 2017, get arrested by some cops. There is another Terminator, which the trailer kind of gave away. It's John Connor, because it gets really, really convoluted.
Because reasons.
It gets really convoluted there as to how he's the Terminator.
This movie is like, I am shockingly keeping up, but let's see. Where do I have? Recent 7. It just seems convoluted as all get out. I don't know. It just seems like there is so much going on, and at the same time, nothing going on that really mattered. Like, this movie is meant to start kind of a new trilogy, more or less, right?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
So, what do you feel like this movie was necessary, or do you feel like this movie was just kind of here to, like, fill some sort of gap type thing? Or, I mean, because it just feels like this movie was like, we're just rehashing stuff that everybody liked from the first couple into one movie, and, you know, like, do you feel like this was even necessary in doing?
That's a good question. Was it necessary? No, but I actually did like it.
You did find it enjoyable.
Yeah, it wasn't all serious, it wasn't all action. There were some pretty interesting parts of the movie. And yeah, once again, there was a chase scene, as there is in Terminator chasing the target.
Did you find the action in this, like, some action movies, we were talking about this every time, they get kind of predictable and, like, you know it's coming? Did you find that this was kind of in that same vein where it's like, okay, now they're gonna do this, and we're gonna think they're gonna crash, but they don't, like, you know, all those kind of same type things you see in a lot of action movies now? Do you feel like this kind of followed that formula of action movies?
There was only one scene where they're on a bridge and the vehicle's getting ready to go over, but that whole thing is now just, it's like every scene that involves a chase now, they have to do that. Where
it's kind of like sliding off a bridge, and is it gonna go? Are they gonna get out before it crashes? Yeah.
Yeah. Then obviously somebody reaches down and grabs them as the vehicle's slipping away,
and they say, "Come with me if you want to win." That's kidding.
But it's actually, it's not so serious. It's actually pretty lighthearted, and yeah, I don't know. It's enjoyable if you don't look too hard at it. If you just kind of just roll with the punches, it's actually not. It's not a bad movie at all.
So another thing I was thinking about is how in the first one, and this is, you know, take Michael Biehn, people maybe don't think much of him anymore or whatever, and maybe I don't know. He was in everything for a while there, and then he just kind of died out. But I always believed that he actually, I mean, he was really good at playing that role, and he always believed that he did like Sarah. And in the moment when he finally confesses it, you feel like that is hurting him, that he's saying it out loud, and he wishes he wouldn't have told her. You know, that's kind of the important love story of this, in a way, where, you know, Kyle Reese and Sarah need to have that certain amount of bond. Do you think that that happened in this movie? Like, do you think Emilia Clarke and Jai Courtney had the same kind of chemistry and quip that they had, that the two actors in the original had?
It's actually pretty interesting. It's actually really different. This is definitely something you haven't seen before, the relationship that they had, because from the get-go, he is just confused, like, what is going on? And she is trying to fill him in, and at the same time saving him, pretty much. And then the Terminator, her guardian, shows up, and he's like, oh my god, we have to kill him, he's untrustworthy. So that creates some tension, because she's actually... sorry, I can't talk right now. She's actually pretty fond of him. I mean, she draws, as a kid, she drew pictures of him, and him and her, and she calls him Pops, and so she
calls the Terminator Pops?
Yeah, she's actually looks to the guy as a father figure, and he doesn't accept that, and she, this time around, actually has some info that he isn't aware of, that being that he's the father of John, which he is completely unaware of, and at the same time, you could tell they're attracted to each other, but it's like, I don't really know how to express that attraction, so, like I said, it is pretty interesting, and it's not something we've seen before I mean, we really, I suppose, didn't see much of Sarah Connor. She was only in 2 of the Terminator movies. In one of them, she was pretty much this psycho militant lady that wanted to kill people and blow things up.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a pretty fresh take on everything, and I don't know, you kind of grow to like the 2 of them. The Terminator, I will give him this in this movie, is actually isn't so serious. He's
Arnold's old man Terminator? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, he's actually kind of... It's along the same way he was in Terminator 2, where he's just... I can't say uncomfortable, but you could tell he just doesn't care about the affection that he's being shown, or the hostility that he's being shown by Kyle Reese. It's just like, I'm here. Leave me alone.
He's kind of unfazed by it.
Yeah.
Or is that Arnold just, like, walking through the motion? No, just kidding. Interesting. So as far as just, like, we'll go on this, like, what do you think about, like, now where visual effects are and those types of things, that aspect of Terminator Genisys, do you think they kind of, how do you think that looked comparatively to a lot of special effects movies now? Was it pretty well done, or?
I thought it was actually pretty good. It does... I mean, there have been movies out there where they've made people look younger using CGI, making them look older in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
Right, and Haley Atwell in Winter Soldier. That was really impressive how they CGI-olded. CGI made her old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the times, unfortunately, it doesn't look that good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, everyone learned their lesson from Edgar, or that J. Edgar Hoover movie that came out a while ago. But it seems like they're it seems like they're using CGI more than they are makeup.
But we don't want to go down the road of X-Men Origins Wolverine, where Patrick Stewart just looks creepy at the end.
But you do see young versions of Arnold Schwarzenegger in this, and at no point in time did I feel like, oh wow, that's you could just tell that's fake. It actually looked like young Arnold Schwarzenegger was standing there in the buff, although thankfully this time you didn't see his naughty parts flopping about.
Oh,
sorry, ladies.
Yeah, that's really random. There's just like one quick second there was like, what? Yeah.
Yep.
In the first one.
In the first Terminator, you can see it, which is slightly unfortunate.
So, just overall, you're saying, what do you, okay, I get that you liked it. You're not ashamed that you went. What do you think about in terms of, are you telling people go see this in theaters, rent it? Is it worth the big screen experience?
I would say see it in theaters. Like I said, that opening action scene where you have these humans going against the Terminators is actually pretty cool. I mean, you have movies where like the action is just way too over the top and unnecessary. This one I felt was actually not over the top. Very, very well done. Cool. Unfortunately, a lot of people die, like I said. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Well, we'll see where this goes, I guess. I'm assuming that this movie's probably doing well enough. It seems to be where they will make the next one, if not the next one, and the next one, and the next one, depending on when they decide to stop, and how they'll use if they use Arnold anymore. I guess is we'll have to see about that. So there's Dakota. There's Dakota's review of that, telling you that Terminator Genisys is worth to see. Go to theaters to see it. And there's me telling you, go for it, I guess, if you want to. I just... I
have one more thing to say.
It soured my mouth the more trailers that came out. But
I have one more thing to say before we end this. Jai Courtney was actually pretty good in Spartacus. Come on. Did you see the show?
In Spartacus? He was in Spartacus?
Yeah, he played Spartacus's best friend, Varro.
Oh, in that TV show?
Yeah.
Saw bits and pieces here and there at times of that.
And you'll be seeing a lot more of him because he is playing Captain Boomerang.
He won't just go away.
You might as well just embrace him.
I don't have to. Dwayne Johnson is in everything under the sun, and I haven't hardly seen him in anything lately because he just keeps doing things that I don't care about anyway. So, but I am worried now because he's apparently going to join the DCCU now as Shazam's villain. But
yeah,
see what happens there, I guess.
He actually was considered for the role of Max in the Mad Max movies, but they went for another probably in your eyes better actor, but
they went for a guy who's kind of in who's been in a lot of things now. Yeah, Tom Hardy, he's one where he can go either way. I mean, he's really good in certain things I've seen him in, but yeah, I don't know if I've seen him anything where I call him one of the greats. Yeah, I mean, Warrior is a really good movie that he's in with Joel Edgerton, but at the same time, the movie everybody loved him in, Inception, he's kind of a throwaway supporting character, really, where you just liked him because he liked big guns, I think. But anyway, so there you go. If you see Terminator Genisys, heaven help you. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully you enjoy it, because the worst thing is to leave a movie and feel depressed about it, that you spent them, especially now. It's like, you know, you think in your head, man, I had to work how long to pay for this movie? I was kidding. So anyway, there's our show this time. Like I always say, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, DakotaBoysTalkMovies.blogspot.com, and you can just find all our articles there, the different movies, if you want to do it that way. But, you know, YouTube and iTunes are about the easiest way to keep up with us, and our links on Facebook. So we hope you do that, and we'll catch you next time, which will be our 10th show. We made it to double digits.
That's right, man. They tried to keep us down.
Well, maybe, Lord willing, we'll make it to double digits. I guess we haven't done the show yet, so it seems pretty probable. So
yeah, don't pop the champagne cork just yet, folks.
It's right there. I'm shaking it. Okay. But yeah, this is Steven.
This is Dakota.
Thanks for listening.